Hello everybody and welcome to the official Anne Frank video. We're going to be studying her as one of the last women for the month of March's National Women's History Month. So many of you know her as a historical figure, but we're going to be looking at her as a writer today. So some few things to know about Anne Frank. So she was born in Germany, but her heritage is Dutch and her family comes from the Netherlands. And like I talked about before, she's probably one of the most well-known Holocaust victims or Holocaust figures in history. So when people talk about the Holocaust, her name is probably brought up or thought of. So although she didn't hold an official job, she was thought of as a diarist, which is someone who contributes to a diary. Alright, so Anne Frank's diary, called The Diary of a Young Girl or The Diary of Anne Frank, became so popular after its publication that it actually got turned into plays and movies. Now, the diary documented her life while she was hiding in an annex, which is a hiding spot. Her specific hiding spot was actually behind a secret bookcase, which led to an attic. So she was not actually alive when her diary got published. Her father, who was one of the surviving members of the Frank family, published the diary for her, and it has been translated into over 70 languages. So Anne had a pretty great upbringing. Her family was very big on reading and education, so she was brought up in what is called an education affluent household, meaning that her parents really tried to give her the best learning possible. So she was encouraged to read, and her parents even gave their children, Anne and Margot's Anne's older sister, a huge library in their house. And this is their house right here. They actually rented 2 floors of this apartment building. And Anne went to a Montessori school, which is a hands-on learning environment, which is still around today. So the diary contents is what really affected her readers. So she wrote mostly about her relationships with her family members, especially about her mother and her sister as well. So she kind of grew to not so much admire her mom so much because her relationship was so torn, and she kind of talked about even like hating her mother, which she actually revised later, saying, you know what, I was kind of harsh on my mom. Her mom was going through some things, and Anne had a different perspective. So she wrote frequently about her dreams and what she wanted to do in life. So eventually she wanted to become a journalist when she grew up, and maybe even a fiction writer. But she also wrote about her beliefs in the world, specifically about her beliefs on God and religion. Eventually, Anne Frank and the group that was annexed in the attic were captured by Nazi soldiers, and immediately they were brought to concentration camp. So over time, Anne's health declined and she got sick, and that is what is to be believed to be the cause of her death. There were survivors who lived with Anne in the concentration camp cabins who claimed that she looked very sick, she was burning up, having a fever, coughing, vomiting constantly, and that evidence in sources what they contributed as reasoning for part of her death. And so here is her tombstone, and she was buried with her sister Margot, who shared the same fate, died by sickness. So this is all we need to know about Anne Frank. I am actually going to attach a link later this week about a video on Anne Frank for you guys to watch and then answer an open response question. I hope you enjoyed this learning experience of Anne Frank, and stay tuned for more.